My name is Les Kinstead. I'm the Affordable Housing Manager for the City of Sioux Falls. I want to thank you all for coming out this morning. We especially appreciate the media and your willingness to try and help us get the word to the general public of what we're doing and what we think are a couple of pretty exciting projects. So let me get started, and I'll do a few comments here, describe a little bit about what we're doing with these projects, and then you'll get to hear from some of the people that help make it happen. We have two projects to announce this morning. Both of them are obviously affordable housing projects. The first one of those projects is a building called buildings called Horizon Point. Horizon Point is the board on the furthest away from me and shows you what the project looks like. It's located in the 3500 and the 3600 block of North 4th Street. They are existing buildings, and there's some interesting opportunities with that. These buildings were built as a low-income housing tax credit project in the 1990s, so they're approaching 20, 25 years of age, and usually that, when you look at an apartment complex, that's kind of the shelf life or the lifetime or life cycle of an apartment building. So there are two aspects to this that we thought were important. Number one, by renovating and bringing this property back, new roofs, new boiler systems, new heating, air conditioning, siding, and then in the interiors of the project, we'll make that as a good, viable, functional property for another 25 or 30 years. That was one of the things we thought was good stewardship and we'd like to see. The other thing that really made sense to us is for the last 25 years, that project has been available and part of our inventory or our stock of affordable housing units. So by the program is now, or the affordability period for those projects is ending, and so they could, in many cases, they go out, they're purchased by a private entity and they put them into market rate units. So we would have lost 62 units, and by doing this, we've been able to maintain those 62 units. So that's we thought, a real important part of what this was all about. The project itself, the cost for the acquisition and the renovation, rehab, bringing those units back to standard is $8 million. As I mentioned just a minute ago, there are three buildings. There are 62 apartments in those three buildings. And the other thing that we were really pleased with is that it's difficult in an affordable housing environment to make ends meet and make the numbers work if you're at the lower end of what the rents are for low and moderate income folks. So, but yet that's where a lot of the need is. So in this project, with the funds that we've been able to put together through the efforts of all these folks and some of you in the audience, we've been able to keep these rents at 50% of area median income or lower, which is a real achievement. Usually they will trend a little bit higher on that. So that's been important to me. Cindy Dannenbring, my colleague from ICAP, will talk to you a little bit about the Bright Futures program. But one of the unusual things about this project as well is that it's in part of a program that provides housing for one thing for homeless and near homeless families. But the other really important part of it is there's case management and classes and the ability to educate people who may not have got that training earlier in their life about what it takes to be a successful human being, to raise a good solid family, to make your dollars stretch around, how to interview for jobs and so on. And I'll try not to steal too much of Cindy's thunder, but that was a real important part of what we saw and kind of an exception to the rule. Dollars in the project, I mentioned $8 million. He won't like me saying this, but the really big player in this playpen is Mark Lossing with the South Dakota Housing Authority. You'll see as we talk about these projects that they are the premier and primary funding source for a lot of these things that happen, and he'll be talking a little bit about how that happens in the low-income housing tax credit program, its impact on the area and so on. But out of the $8 million, $6.4 million came from the Housing Authority. The City of Sioux Falls did a $900,000 loan that will be paid back over the life of the project. And then there are other financing, other loans of about $700,000. So a big project. It'll begin in April of 2017 and is scheduled for completion in June of 2018. So that's a little bit about that particular project. The other project that we're delighted to see come into place happens to be a project with new construction, and the Trinity Point board that you see there, that's a fourplex unit, and Lloyd Companies will be building 12 of those units, and it's called Trinity Point, like I think I might have mentioned already. Lloyd Companies has developed, own, and will manage that property. It's part of an overall development that they have, and this particular set of buildings will be located on East 26th Street near Rosa Parks Elementary School. So great location, close to schools, close to the shopping that's developing out on the east side, so it's a good place to go. This particular project is $7.1 million. It provides 48 units, and there are another unusual feature of this is you have a significant number of 3-bedroom units, which oftentimes it's very difficult for people to find those 3-bedroom units, so that's a major improvement. And this one as well, because of some of the dollars that were put in up front, we've been able to bring that project in again at 50% or less of area median income. So you're really starting to target in on those folks with the greatest need. Again, on the sources of funds, the Housing Authority comes in again, and they'll be doing $6 million of the $7.1 million that it takes to do it. In this case, the city put in a $500,000 loan, and the balance of the amounts are again other loan funding that you have for the project. And this one is on much the same schedule as what you see with Horizon Place, in that the project will start construction in the spring of this year and finish up in early summer of 2018. So we'll have, I guess it's 110 units online at that point that are affordable housing units. The only other comment that I would make, and then I'll probably turn it over to Mark Lossing, my colleague from the Housing Authority. Sometimes, I know when I came into this job, I thought I understood what it takes to develop a property and build something, but these projects take it to a whole new level of complexity, and it requires a real close interaction and cooperation by multiple partners to get it done. You're looking at some of the folks in the audience are certainly part of those partnerships. These 3 folks represent the organizations that make this stuff happen. We play a role. Tax credit equity investors play a role. It's just a very complex and involved process. So if this is a good example, we all talk about partnerships and cooperating with each other. This is a really good example of what happens when you can get that done. So with those comments, about the only other thing that I would add to is that we do have, I want to thank the leadership of the City of Sioux Falls, the council, the mayor. 2.5 or 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, they started appropriating funds for this, and in this particular pot of money we have $1 million, and they have appropriated those funds because they thought affordable housing was a need and a valid place to put dollars. So without that leadership, a lot of what you see here today might have happened, but it wouldn't have happened, and especially with the 50% AMI units. So with that, I think I'll stop for right now. This is Mark Lossing. Mark is the Executive Director of the South Dakota Housing and Development Authority. And Mark, why don't you tell them a little bit about what we do?
Thank you, Les. As Les mentioned, it does take quite a few different partners working together to get these projects accomplished. And the City of Sioux Falls, Interlakes Community Action Program, and Lloyd's Companies have been excellent partners with South Dakota Housing for years. He talked about the tax credit program, and I just wanted to share with you the impact of that it's had over the years. In the last 30 years, the tax credit program has been responsible for over $720 million worth of developments across the state. It's done over 9,200 affordable units, and about half of those, for 50%, actually are in the Sioux Falls area, so it has a huge impact in the Sioux Falls area. And we talk about affordable housing. This is really workforce housing too. There are income restrictions on this, but based on family size, people make from $14 to $23 an hour, so that's a major part of the workforce in Sioux Falls, and it provides the necessary housing. There are so many people that are rent poor now. They pay more than 30 or maybe even 50% of their income in rent. And these projects help bring those rents down so people have other additional funds available for food, for clothing, for other things that they need. Again, I just wanted to, I think we had 3 different funding sources in each of these projects. We used tax credits, which was the majority of it. Home funds were used, and also housing trust fund dollars were used in each of the projects. And home funds and tax credits both have 60% area median income limitations. But the housing trust fund dollars are new federal dollars that we received last year that really target the very low income at 30% and below of area median income. So those are very important projects to include some of those units too for the extremely low income. Again, I want to thank the partners for the years of partnership that we've had and just the great work that they do. They deserve a lot of the credit. They do the development. We basically just make them fill out a lot of paperwork and then give them the funds. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
The next person who's going to talk with you a little bit about their particular project, Horizon Place, is Cindy Dannenbring, who's the Executive Director of the Interlakes Community Action Partnership.
Good morning. As Les indicated, Horizon Place Apartments will house homeless families with children who are participating in the Bright Futures and also the Heartland House program. Those programs, the goal of those programs is for homeless families to become self-sufficient, or as self-sufficient as they can be. When the families come into the program, they have very little. Many times they only have the clothing and what belongings they can carry in. Our goal is then and we provide rental assistance to them at that point and other supportive services that they may need. They participate in classes, as Les had said, and that's based on the specific need of that family. Many families haven't had the parenting, perhaps, that we were privileged to have. So many times it's starting from that point, and even about cleaning an apartment and how you do that. It's something we all may assume that everyone would know how to do that. That's not the case. Not everyone knows how to do that. So we work with them on those things. We work with them on parenting. They go to parenting classes. They have many opportunities based on their particular level. Then as time goes on, we wean them off of our support, our case management, for them to become independent and productive members of this community. So that's how the Bright Futures and Heartland House programs work. There continues to be a significant number of families that want to make those changes in their lives so they can ensure a brighter future for their families, including their children. But to be successful, they first need stable and affordable housing, and that's where Horizon Place comes in. You hear the numbers all the time from Sioux Falls Housing about the number of families that are waiting and the number of families that even if they get a housing voucher, are they able to find a property that is safe, sanitary, secure for them and their families? Again, Horizon Place will offer that to the families in the community. Now, as the others have said, I can't neglect to recognize the partners. Interlakes Community Action, we do programs. That's what we do. We don't acquire and rehab apartments. Lloyd Companies does that. What a partner they've been to us in helping us through that I want to say maze, because in some ways it is when it's something I'm not familiar with. They've been a great partner. Les and Sioux Falls Community Development, Darren, it's unbelievable to me, and it shouldn't be. In the state of South Dakota, that's what we do. We help each other, and we help where someone is weak, we help that person, and where someone's strong, we take advantage of that. And then, of course, Mark brings in money, and we couldn't do it without that. So I thank all of our partners. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. You've seen us refer or gesture towards the next speaker that we have. This is Erica Beck. Erica is the Vice President for Development at Lloyd Companies. And Erica, you want to give us a little bit of background?
Sure.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I feel relatively humbled and blessed to speak up here with these folks because really they're why we had the opportunity to do what it is that we do. I just want to comment real quick. I'm not here to talk about Horizon Place, but at the same time, I think Cindy's program has spoke for itself. The City of Sioux Falls has supported that program for a long time. Bright Futures has done a lot of good things. You didn't talk about the number of graduates that you've had through that program, but it's pretty outstanding. And if you want to learn more about that, I would encourage you to do that because it's really one of those service agencies that helps a lot of people in our community. We have an opportunity to pursue a new construction project, and that's what I'm here to talk about today, Trinity Point. The board up here actually shows an 8-plex that we have constructed over on the west side of Sioux Falls. That was not part of this program, but Trinity Point will be modeled after this project. Trinity Point consists of 6 buildings, 8 units each, and it's a unique location, and I'm really proud of that location that our company chose to pursue. Solely from the standpoint that oftentimes when we talk about apartment communities, we talk about those amenities that are associated with apartment communities. And the amenity in this situation, from our perspective anyways, is just the location. It's right next to Rosa Parks Elementary School, which just provides an extra level of assistance to the people that are going to be living here in terms of ease of access for their kids to be able to get to school on a day-to-day basis. However, it's also for individuals, not just families. So we have 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. And the appeal in terms of location to those individuals that will be living there in those 1-bedroom units is also that it's located next to Dolly Farms, which is a employment center in and of itself. It also has recreation, shopping, grocery, and medical uses that we feel are important in terms of building those apartment communities that we need within our town. A little bit more about the project itself. Les commented on the number of 3-bedroom units that we have within the Trinity Point project. We have 19 3-bedroom units, 18 1-bedroom units, and 11 2-bedroom units. The rents will range from $400 a month to $895 per month for this particular project, which, as he indicated earlier, one of the things that we hear about on a very continual basis, and certainly we see from Lloyd Company's perspective, is that there's definitely a demand within the community to achieve rents that fall within a 30 to 40 to 50% area median income range. And that's what we were able to do with this project because of the assistance from the City of Sioux Falls and because of the assistance from the South Dakota Housing and Development Authority. So in many of our projects that we pursue tax credit applications on, we include 60% area median income units. And because of the assistance that we received this year from these two entities, we were able to not do that, therefore achieving more of that need that's actually within the community. Les commented about just the overall collaboration that's necessary to make these projects work, and I just wanted to reinforce that and restate that because it's very true. Not one entity in the community can just move forward with a project of this nature and actually meet the needs that are identified within our community, and we could not do that without everyone coming to the table to make this happen.